Yeah, we're just good.
You're live.
Yeah.
Woo!
Woos.
Woo!
I'll like hold up cards.
What you don't know is that usually when the crowds are here, we all go like, we start the Shiur like all like wild. But you guys did, no, that was a fabulous compensation. Just hi Facebook world, we're a small intimate group of friends learning tonight. And it's really sweet and exciting, and I don't know if you can see, but we have a fire going for the burning bush, and we built a burning bush behind us as well. And it's Me'alia is turning 3 tonight. Yeah. Me'alia, you want to hear the song that goes with this week's Parshat?
Yeah.
Okay. Go down, Moses, way down in Egypt's land. Tell old Pharaoh to let my people go. Egypt was in, no, when Israel was in Egypt's land. Let my people go. They worked so hard they could not stay. Let my people go. Come on, Me'alia, break it down. Go down, Moses, way down in Egypt's land. Tell old Pharaoh to let my people go. That was a good intro. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, cool. It's very strange to talk up there, but I will. All right. So,
Talk to Hashem.
this, I will talk to Hashem. This exactly, it says talk to Hashem. Yeah. Obviously. All right. Hi, Hashem. Hi, Hashem. That's it. We don't need anything else but this. So Hashem, thank you. Hashem, thank you for life. Thank you for the complexities. Thank you for girlfriends. And thank you for 3-year-olds.
And for 3-year-old Ma'al,
Yeah. And Hashem, please help our learning be strong tonight. This is too good. Hey, gorgeous. Hey, gorgeous. That was the best opening of a Shiur ever in the history of man. I know, we're taking you with us. So today, our learning is going to be for my Ima, Shoshana Bat Chanachaya, and please feel free to dedicate our learning to whoever you want to dedicate your learning to. Tonight, how am I gonna compete with you? Last week we learned about competition, and this week I'm put to the test.
Even with the test.
All right, cool. So, all right. Focus. Okay, so 2 weeks ago we focused on anger. Last week we focused on competition, and this week I was like opening the Parshat, and I was like, all right, well, what is going to touch my heart? And I was really excited about the burning bush, and I was like, there's a lot in Shmot. It's Parshat Shmot. Hello, Parshat Shmot. So there's, say Shmot. No, she didn't. Okay, cool. It's like,
She won't copy you when she wanted to. She won't.
Right, exactly. And so this week I was like, holy crunk, we're introduced to Moshe. And then I couldn't get past Moshe, because Moshe is so epic. So I thought 2 weeks ago, expose on anger. Last week, expose on competition. This week, expose on Moshe, but there's not a lot of dirt. But Moshe is really, really incredible. So tonight, what we're going to do is, we're going to look at the book of Shmot and the Parsha of Shmot. And we're going to do what I call Meet Moshe, where we're just going to really spend like a good hour, like really recalling who this figure that we talk about is. And then we're going to zoom in a little bit on the burning bush, and then we're all going to say what we took away tonight. So just prepare. I'll ask you, but everyone is allowed to pass. Okay, cool. So we are in Parshat
Shmot.
That's a lot of pressure for a small group.
I know it's a lot.
We got it. We got it. We can do it.
Everyone.
Okay, so I'll tell you the coolest thing that I learned about Shmot from Rabbi Kaplan, who speaks on Hidabrut, was that actually we all know that Shmot means names, and that our name is the essence of us, and that it's the closest thing we have to our soul. But what's interesting, and I never ever thought about this, is actually we know the word soul is neshama, but did you ever realize the word Shem is in the center of that? Your name is literally the center of your soul. Neshama, Shem.
Wow.
Right? Nun, Shin, Mem, Hey. Neshama. But the inside is Shem. And that's what's up. Right, Natalie? So anyways, I just thought that was interesting because we're going to be talking about our mission in this world as a nation and as people. And that will have to do with both our personal names and the name of us being Bnei Israel, being the children of Israel. So what's also interesting is we're starting a new book, which means this sets the stage for all of the book of Shmot, which is basically Bob Marley hit
Exodus.
movement of Jah people. So this is, we're entering now into a fifth of the year where really our whole focus is supposed to be redeeming ourselves. And then asking ourselves, like, if there was an area of your life that you would want redemption in, what would it be? And like, am I even putting that into my consciousness? So that's just a question to start for everybody. And it's a good thing we have a magic wand. So the question is, Ma'alia, and I'm asking all of you guys, or asking everyone online, how often do we talk about this whole redemption, Exodus, Egypt in like Jewish culture?
Every day, all the time.
Every day, all the time? What do you say? When do we talk about Egypt?
At least once a year.
At least once a year, right? And Pesach, right? When else?
If we mention
Like,
it in the
usually,
daily
like, in our
prayers.
Jewish, like as a Jew, how important should the Exodus be to our consciousness?
Oh, yeah, we're supposed
Every
to
second
remember
of
it
our
every
day.
day.
It's literally
Yeah.
the first thing. It's a constant remembrance. It's one of the 6 daily remembrances. Men say it when they put on their tefillin first thing in the morning. It's in Psukei de Zimra. It's in the Shema. It is in the... it's on Kiddush, on Shabbat. In fact, if on Shabbat you don't remember that we left Egypt, you didn't fulfill your mitzvah of Kiddush.
Wow.
Yeah. Like actually half of Shabbat is just remembering that we left Egypt. So like the center. So really, you know, it's a fifth of the year in the Torah. And it's also, what holidays do we say? Exactly, all of them. Pesach, and then Sukkot is really what happened after we left Egypt. And what was Shavuot? What happened as we left Egypt, and only because we left Egypt. So it's important. Okay, so now here's my question for you. It's actually Yankee Tauber's question, but it was so, he wrote it in his article. I took it from it. So, Avigdor, here's the question. Ready?
Yeah.
What if, wait, actually, do you have Instagram?
I do have Instagram.
Oh, great.
It's the only social media I have.
It's the only, okay, so you have Instagram. Who here has Instagram? Instagram? Oh, really? You guys all have?
3.
Oh, you just three?
It's not on my phone.
I don't have it.
On my phone.
I know, I tried tagging you.
I have all of them, but the one that I
So,
actually...
all right, and Facebook followers, here is your question: is what if you had 3 billion followers on Instagram? Would you feel pretty cool about yourself?
I'd be really...
Heck yeah.
3 billion. Wait. Yeah. Are there any artists with 3 billion followers? Like, is anyone that big? Like, does Beyonce have 3 billion?
I don't think anybody has billions.
And there's billions, like we're in the
I
millions.
can look this up.
So,
I'm gonna guess like 50 million is probably the most.
50 million is most? Oh, you could look it up. That'd be great. I would appreciate that. So,
Okay,
here's-
the most followers?
so this is interesting because for
I don't
us
think
to
if
put
you're
into
guessing
perspective, like, and if you had 1 million, would it be a big deal?
Yes.
But the truth is, Moshe
By 10,
Rabbeinu,
so.
in the year 2021, or almost the year 2022, has 3 billion, half of the human race following him, and the teachings that he brought to the world. Half of the human race bases their ethos, their belief system, and their morals on this guy Moshe.
He's like an influencer.
He's a mamish an influencer. Yes? What's our answer?
Answer, everyone think of your guess. So the answer is Cristiano Ronaldo, the famous footballer,
Cristiano
He's the
Ronaldo,
most
the famous baller,
with
has
379 million followers.
379 million. So he's a few billion short of Moshe Rabbeinu. But it's interesting to think, guys. And what if you were so famous and so well liked that actually you started a group that endured for 33 centuries? Because that's where we're at with Moshe. And what if your group was so powerful that it confounded all historians for the rest of time? Right? So what if you were the ultimate lawgiver of the entire human race? Or the model leader? Like Rivka, what if you represented the quintessence of wisdom?
I'd probably be really scared about how I acted and what I did and what I said.
Oh yeah, seriously. Actually, just on a little tiny Torah Shiur, sometimes I get in the car and I want to barf because I'm so scared if I didn't say something right. Like in the truth, you know? Yeah, what's up?
I have a question for the group.
Yeah.
Would someone like Moshe actually, would this person's attitude be, I have a lot of doubt, there's a lot of pressure, or would this person have actually significant confidence, be like, I actually am totally on top of this and I've got
I
this?
saw with Moshe that he had so much doubt.
Just talk loud so please.
Sorry. I think Moshe had a lot of doubt. Like he was like, you know, his whole question is like, who am I? Maybe Aaron should be the one to take them out.
Sure.
So we'll get there. It's in pages from 20 to 30. No,
let
but
you
these are great questions, and I really do appreciate. This is great question. Great question. Is this manipulation if she doesn't know she's being live broadcast? All right, ready? Malia, say meet Moshe.
Meet Moshe.
Meet Moshe. Woo! Yeah, on your birthday, we're going to talk about Moshe Rabbeinu. But before we do that, I want to give you guys a Parshat recap because I don't know if you guys have had the chance to read Shmot yet. Anyone had the chance to read Shmot yet? Not you read Shmot? Oh, you're a Parshat teacher. Right, sweet.
Oh, not this week. But
Oh, not this week. Right, it's hard to like find time to get to it. So I'll just tell you what happened in the Parshat. Parshat recap. So last week we finished with Yaakov and Yosef dying, and the tribes were on the deathbed, and we close up the beginning of the whole story of all of humanity. And now, well, all of humanity meaning like our people, right? The Jewish people are being born, sort of, by nature of being Yaakov's children. Close that book of Breshit, we open Shmot, like we said, and now, after the Pharaoh was like really working it with Yosef and doing good, now there's a new Pharaoh, and the people begin to be enslaved. By the time we get to the burning bush, they've been enslaved for 86 years, but they've been in exile for 211. At this point, they start freaking out because miracles are happening and the Jewish people are multiplying miraculously. Sextuplets, 6 babies at a time. 1 baby at a time was hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
easy peasy lemons.
Easy peasy lemons.
And also for that to be healthy, because people, when it's more than one, it's like there are complications.
And there was
So it's-
healthy in a time we didn't have like
That's- yeah.
So really interesting what's happening, and the Egyptians are freaking out. They're basically calling us rodents, like they're everywhere, like it's disgusting, like they literally were it says in the Pshat, they were disgusted. They were like, ugh, right? So what was their plan? Well, there was 2 plans. One, get rid of some of us, but also because the Egyptian astrologers had prophesied that what?
Somebody would come save the
Yeah, some boy is going to save the Jewish people. So I don't actually know if it's an Egyptian or a Jew. They couldn't really tell. But you should really just start throwing all the baby boys in the Nile. And this is where we're at contextually, and also where Pharaoh, who had leprosy, or a form of leprosy, do you guys know what he was using to cure his leprosy?
The blood of the
150 Jewish babies slaughtered in the morning, 150 Jewish babies slaughtered every single night. Their blood was drained into a bath, and Pharaoh bathed in it to cure his leprosy. Yeah, and yeah, this is it's like a well-spoken
happening
midrash.
somewhere in the world.
No, it's absolutely happening somewhere in the world, and I actually, my
No, but
wife
we're getting blamed for it.
I got into big trouble last year on my Parshat Shmot Shiur because I
Talking
talked
about
about it. Yeah,
Yeah.
big
So we
trouble.
won't talk about
We'll
it.
talk after the
but
camera.
you could watch it later. So in the midst of this insanity, and again, mind you, Egypt is compared to the Holocaust. Like the Holocaust was not the first of the atrocities. In fact, it says there was 400 gates of Pharaoh's palace. Outside of every single one were dead bodies stacked up, like. You know, it was really a scene out there, and they're drowning the babies. You know, when they're hurting kids, we have a problem. Moses is born, as we know. They protected him for a few months. He's adopted by the daughter Batya, grows up, ends up killing a guard, has to run away as a fugitive. We'll get there. Finally, he has a family. He has 2 sons, and Hashem appears in the burning bush. We're gonna get there. At that point, God actually tries to kill him. I'll tell you about that in a second. Explicitly, it says in 4:24 that Hashem encountered him and sought to kill him, Moshe. Finally, Moshe, yeah, I know.
Was that with the snake?
That's the snake, yeah, we're going to talk about that, yeah. Then Moshe ends up re-meeting Aaron. We don't know if it's the first time as an adult or not, but it could have been. He gathers the elders. Moshe and Aaron go to Pharaoh. Pharaoh is like, what the heck are you talking about? Let my people go. You're a nut job. You're so crazy. And not only that, we're going to make it worse. So the workload gets really hard for the Jewish people. And Moshe, at the end of his like, WTF, God, seriously, what evil have you done to this people? What is wrong with you? And then God's like, oh, you think I'm evil? Oh, watch. Ooh, watch me, watch what I'm about to do to Pharaoh. That's Parshat Shmot. Okay. So then, really, I was like, really trying to find good themes, good topics, cool things, and I couldn't get past Moshe. So I just made like a bunch of slides that we could just think tonight, spend our night thinking about Moshe.
I love that.
Yeah. There's other stuff, but so first of all, he's a born prince, which is just interesting. He's a born prince, but the weirdest thing is he's a born prince to two opposing nations. That's like Hitler, again, sorry to use the Holocaust example, but it's the most accurate. That's like Hitler adopting a Jewish baby and raising him in the Third Reich building. And actually, if you think about it, when Moshe is told now that he has to come back to talk to Pharaoh, who's he talking to?
His father.
His brother, right? His dad or his brother. We don't really officially know.
Dad.
Yeah, Pharaoh. He grew up in the house
But wouldn't
of
it
Pharaoh.
be his grandfather?
Oh, yeah, good point. Grandfather,
His
dad,
bio was
brother.
like-
Right, so we actually
I think it's
don't
really
even know
poetic.
which generation.
Like that this beauty is being raised in this like treacherous, like oppressive to the very beauty that it's raising, you know?
100%. 100%. But it's just interesting that he's a prince of both nations. Because he is our messianic leader and he was their prince at the same exact time. Which is just, I don't know, that
And I
just
guess
tripped me out
Maya
today.
never said anything.
I think that's why
Maya
he was able
never
to do
told.
it.
I was listening to a Shiur on that today by, oh God, I gotta send it to you, Rabbi David Foreman. Amazing Shiur on who actually told Moshe. Did Batya tell Moshe? Did he know from his upbringing? Did Moshe know at all? Yeah.
Is there any discussion of how maybe that environment gave Moshe some like positive traits, like some of the Egyptian values were given to him that he was able to take into his leadership? Or is that not something that?
Such a good question. I never studied it. Great question. Yeah. When I turn off Facebook Live, then we usually discuss the good questions. Do you remember it? Great. Okay, so here's what else. Think about this. What if before you were born, like one of the things that you knew about yourself was that you were prophesied about? Like, I knew you were going to be born. They told me you were going to be born. Two people prophesied about Moses' birth. Who were they? Who prophesied about
Miriam.
Moses? Miriam and Pharaoh's astrologers. Isn't that fascinating? That's what I thought. Okay, finally, he comes out. His mama has a baby, and let's use the light. And imagine, okay, I won't take your light. I did get that for her, but whatever. Okay, so imagine, may I ask a personal question?
Absolutely.
Home birth or hospital birth?
Hospital birth.
Hospital birth. Imagine when you have your first kid, push, ah! Boom, and the whole hospital fills with light. Imagine if you had a kid. Can I ask a personal question? Are you married? Okay, you meet your wife. You guys have your first baby, and literally the whole house or hospital fills with light.
Ideal.
Filled with light.
I think it could be either amazing or frightening.
It was probably both, and that's why I love having these discussions. Because did you ever think about Yocheved's reaction when the room filled with light?
She was probably
And by the way, not to be inappropriate, but Kabbalistically speaking, light emerging from her malchut.
okay.
Yeah, there's a lot in there. It's a lot in there because essentially in the Garden of Eden, according to the Kabbalists, we sit in the divine nukva. We sit in the divine feminine and bask in that pleasure. Sorry if that sounded appropriate. It's Kabbalah. Okay. Now, other fun things. Do you guys know who Moshe's soul was? We know through Sefer Gilgulim, Shar Gilgulim.
Noah.
Right.
Wow.
We know that
Wow.
Moshe was actually Noah. Why? Because, well, a lot of reasons. I see Torah teaching in your future, young lady.
Yes.
Say amen. Okay. So Noah was supposed to save the whole world, but really he just saved himself. And then Moshe comes along, and Hashem tells him, wipe them all out. I mean, destroy these people, and I'll save you. And what does Moshe say? No! Destroy me, save them all. So Moshe did the tikkun of Noah.
Wow.
Yeah, Moshe did the tikkun of Noah
But
because
that's so confusing because Noah was so great.
Can you say it again?
Hashem
Yes.
chose for.
Wow. I'm like trying to like. All right,
I'm
we
so
let it go.
impressed how you're doing.
Well, I'm just trying to think like, I think I just let it roll, right? Okay, cool. What do you guys think? You think it's okay for the listeners? Okay, cool.
It adds so much.
Sorry, did I touch something?
So, for all your younger viewers, they
Yeah.
can have a translator.
Reb Shlomo always said you have to let the children show up at Torah.
Yeah.
If you don't, what do you teach them?
She agrees.
Yeah. Totally. So I'll say it again. So Noah was supposed to save the whole world, but only ended up saving his family. Then when God says, I'm going to destroy the Jewish people, Moshe says, no, destroy me, save them. But also, it's min hamayim meshituhu, from the waters Moshe was born. The commentators say, what waters? Oh, the waters of the flood, that his soul was taken out from the waters of the flood. And then later, in the words where Moshe says, no, save them, wipe me out, he says, machenina.
And you would.
What should we do, Linda?
I want to sit with the birthday girl.
Well, it's so good, but I also want to make sure that it's listenable.
מעליה.
Oh.
מעליה,
So-
מעליה, נילי עושה את השיר עכשיו, נכון? אני חושב שהיא עושה את השיר, נכון?
Maybe we'll take turns. Maybe I'll teach and then you'll teach.
את רוצה לשמוע על
We'll see,
נילי
we'll see
עכשיו?
what happens.
אוקיי.
I love
אז
you.
אחר כך את עושה את השיר שלך, נכון? את רוצה לעשות שיר? אין בעיה.
Okay.
תודה רבה.
So when Moshe says, Macheni now, wipe me out of this book, it was a good try. And Macheni now is the same letters as Menach. So he literally does the tikkun, is pulled from the waters, literally references the waters he's pulled from, and we see it throughout things. But also, we have other reincarnations of Moshe. Do you guys know who? Think all the way back. Who was very humble?
My turn.
What times?
Almost all the way back.
Yeah, almost.
Almost. Okay, I'll tell you and you tell them. Say, can you shout it? Hevel. Hevel means nothingness. Moshe was the reincarnation of Hevel, or at least, chelek of the soul. Like, we don't know if it's the complete soul, but part of it.
My papa pie.
There are other ideas that Moshe Rabbeinu is connected to the soul of Rabbi Akiva, and also, of course, Mashiach. Did you guys ever meet somebody who was dropped off on a doorstep and raised by strangers? And if one of your friends, let's say you meet someone at a party, and they're like, tell me something interesting about you, and they're like, actually, I'm adopted. I was dropped off at a doorstep. My parents raised me.
Yeah, my turn.
Oh, Harry Potter? Does that happen in Harry Potter?
Or it's like this
Yes.
is
Something happens.
Yeah. Immediately the baby, the
Stories. Yeah.
It's Moshe's story. What do you mean? Think about it.
Oh, Moshe is Harry Potter.
Think about Moshe's story. Well, Moshe's
Yeah.
probably Harry Potter,
The
yeah.
next.
Story.
Other
reincarnated.
Checks out.
Like there was like something about that or no?
Oh, yeah, there's tons of that. There's breastfeeding in the
But
Torah,
that's
by
right
the way.
after.
By the
Yeah.
way, all you hippie feminine women, breastfeeding in the Torah, Parshat Shmot.
Yeah.
Is what?
Because it talks...
It's like as she's holding her leg.
It talks about how Miriam, who had been following Moshe as he's going on the Nile. I think we have to do something because I think I'm losing focus. What are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? I love you so much. What can we do? מעלי, יש לי בקשה.
Maybe you guys switch places.
האם אני יכולה לדבר המון 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 וכולנו נהיה בשקט ואחרי זה את יכולה לדבר המון המון המון? טוב, let's see if it works.
Okay.
Okay, cool. So everybody's gonna be quiet, right? Okay, cool. Is that okay? Like I just don't know how to manage it. But what do you guys think?
אם לא, אנחנו יכולים ללכת באמצע הביתה ולראות את הדוקומנטים.
Okay, גם זה טוב וגם זה טוב. בוא נראה.
אם את רוצה ללכת באמצע
Like the worst thing
הדוקומנטים,
would
גם
just be like a traumatic event
מריה,
on her birthday,
תגידי
you know?
לי.
Like, oh, yeah. Okay, cool. Facebook, thanks for your patience. We're doing great. Yeah, I mean, so Moshe is put into the Nile, which, by the way, I've had the privilege of swimming in the Nile in the source in Uganda. It's called Jinja, and there's hippos everywhere. It's not a smart thing to do. The Nile is like filled. Hippos are the most dangerous animal in Africa. Do you guys know that? I think, in fact, hippos kill more people every year than like car accidents or something like this. Hippos are severely dangerous. The Nile is packed with them and alligators. So the fact that Yocheved put her baby boy into the waters was like a very serious thing. It wasn't a small deal. So there's his sister watching him, making sure making sure he's okay. And when she saw that Pharaoh's daughter found him, she offered. She saw that she knew Moses wasn't going to nurse off of Baya because she wasn't Jewish. Although some people say she went to the Nile to convert. Right. But then Baya's like, oh yeah, sure, get me a Jewish handmaid, and ends up paying Yocheved to raise Moshe for the first few years until he's weaned. So, but yeah, Moshe's story, like if you would meet Moshe on the street, you'd be like, yeah, I was dropped off in a basket. Just basket.
Yeah.
At the king's.
Okay, now mind you, now this is one of the coolest things. Moshe is really the star of the last 4 books of the Bible, right? Why? Because first we have Shmot, it's all about Moshe. Then we have Vayikra, which is all the laws of the Levites, which is Moshe's family. Then, we're doing good. Then, what am I missing? Oh, Bamidbar, right? We're in the desert with Moshe. And then finally it's Dvarim, which is Moshe's whole book. But you want to know what's crazy? Moshe's whole book is Dvarim, right? It means words. Well, how did Moshe start his career? I'm not a man of words. Don't make me do this. Don't make me do this. I can't speak. I have a very heavy speech impediment. He was not just, it was heavy of mouth and heavy of tongue, I think. What, do you guys know the Pshat? I have it.
Kaved Lashon.
The Kaved Peh, right? Kaved Peh, it's a double language. It was a really serious speech impediment. And can you imagine if your greatest challenge becomes your legacy you leave for the world? Moshe had a crazy, crazy speech impediment. What are you guys thinking about? You guys inspired? Is it starting to rain? It's supposed to rain. Well, that would be powerful. So yeah, just to remember, and by the way, the Zohar says that the reason he had a speech impediment was not because of the story with the coal and the gold in the beginning of his life from the Midrash, but rather because Moshe's soul was actually from Olam HaTohu. And so his light was too big. You know, they say about people who have challenges in this world, like let's say someone who's like very, it is starting to rain.
You have to laugh.
Shefa. That someone who has challenges, like someone who's, like, let's say, severely autistic, they actually, the actual spiritual reasoning is because there's too much light for the vessel. And it like kind of fries out the vessel in terms of like how well you can function in this world because you have so much light. And so too with Moshe Rabbeinu, whose soul came from Tohu, it was so much light that he could not, it was like it blew out his mouth.
Oh wow.
And you could see why, because his mouth was going to be used to guide, again, 3 billion, or that's just people now, but it's for the rest of time. Moshe was also a chosen killer.
What does that mean?
He killed. He chose to kill. Like, you read it in the Pshat, and it's like, and then Moshe killed the Egyptian, and then this, and then that. But at a certain point, when Moshe grew up, and he saw this Egyptian beating the Jew, he killed him. Now, they say what?
He broke performance as an Egyptian. He did something very unlike what was expected of him. So it was really a choice.
It was really but besides the fact that it was breaking performance of what's expected of him as an Egyptian, also, like, that makes you a killer.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I would never want to kill anyone. Like, I wouldn't even want to be in the army because, like, in the Israeli army, because even if I was killing a terrorist, like, you guys want to think that you have killed? Now, granted, they say Moshe killed with Shemot Meforash, the name of Hashem that we don't pronounce. They say that he just uttered it and the guy dropped dead, but still, like, did you ever think about the fact that Moshe was a killer? Mm-hmm. Like, it's just interesting. Like, granted, I'm not calling him a murderer, but I don't know. Did you guys ever spend this much time thinking about Moshe? What else was Moshe besides a killer?
A lover.
I'm not sure about his loverness. We don't hear much about his relationship with Zipporah, but he was also a fugitive, because then right after he killed, he had to run away.
Yeah.
Do you know how scary that is? He left all alone, with nowhere to go, with no GPS in the desert.
God.
And it was his dad or his brother who wanted to kill him. It's very similar to the story of Yaakov, by the way. And Yosef. Mamash. Fleeing your country. And again, starting again with nothing.
Wow.
I just, like, have you ever think about, it's cute in The Prince of Egypt. You see Moshe, like, going through the desert and he's, like, exhausted. But, like, if you think about it, like, in our terminology, if you had to just leave LA because you had killed somebody and now you were fleeing, like, where would you even go?
Canada.
If there would be anybody to figure it out, it'd be the Jews.
It's just
so
interesting
ingrained.
because I feel
Because we're
like we
always doing
hear
it.
all
Yeah,
of
it's
these
crazy.
stories from the time we're a kid, but do you ever really think about the fact that Moshe had to run out of Egypt?
Yeah.
Like, where did he go? okay, we know he went to Midian, but like if you're just thinking on the map, like did he go to Libya? Did he go to Ethiopia? Did he travel? Like,
Well, didn't he go?
he went to Midian in the end. I mean, his story is amazing
He
in the
married
years.
the princess, right?
Well, yeah, well, he married Yitro's daughter, Tzipora, and she was like a princess because Yitro was like the spiritual dilettante of the whole world. He was like the Dalai Lama. And the thing about Yitro, which I wasn't going to get into, is he had gone to spiritual heights. He had like climbed to the top of every religion, and once the top he got there, he's like, oh, this doesn't make any sense. Nah. And he'd keep going through the religions, he just hadn't found Judaism. By the way, do you guys know, this is actually amazing and one of my favorite commentaries, do you know that Moshe Rabbeinu is the source of the Disney story, The Sword in the Stone?
No.
Really?
Sword in the, it's the Sword in the Stone.
King Arthur.
King, right? So what happened is actually, this glorious staff here, it's actually blue and shiny, just like Moshe's sapphire staff that was passed down from Adam HaRishon.
Yeah.
The staff was passed down.
I found the staff this week also. Happens to be.
You found a
just
staff this
mentioned
week?
it randomly, aluminum rod.
There you go. Parshat Shmot, you found a staff.
I didn't actually identify it as a staff, but now
Now you
it's
know you
coming
found a
together.
staff,
Yeah.
right? It's Hashgacha Pratis. So this staff was passed down from Adam HaRishon until Yosef. Okay, through the forefathers until Yosef, and when Yosef died, they raided his palace, and Yitro, who was an advisor all the way back then, saw the staff and took it as his booty, not as like a stealing thing. That's just what he wanted. He brought it home and puts it in the ground. He like puts it down, and the ground absorbed it and never let it go. And when Moshe, after he helped roll the well off the rock off the well when he met Tzipora, he gets invited home to Yitro's house, and he's like checking out this blue diamond sapphire staff in the floor, and he picks it up and it just comes right out. And Yitro, who's spying on this man who had helped his daughters, is like, what the? Exactly, he's the one. And that's how they knew. And that is where that legend comes from, is actually Moshe Rabbeinu.
That staff is the one he takes to power.
And that is the staff that had the Tzach Adash, what's the 10 plagues? That's the 10 plagues.
Yeah.
Ten plagues was on the staff.
Yeah, the 10 plagues, according to the Midrash, was carved into the blue diamond sapphire staff. This is like a bad A staff, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, seriously.
All right. So what else was Moshe besides all of these incredible? Well, so far, what do we say? We said he's a. Let's review, guys. It's really important for your memory. He's a killer. What else?
A fugitive.
He's a fugitive. What else?
An orphan.
He was an abandoned. Yeah, he was totally an
A prince
abandoned
of two
orphan.
nations.
He was a prince of 2 nations. He had 3 billion followers. Half of humanity believes after him. What else? We learn more. He had to go confront. Yeah, he was humble. We didn't learn that, but a little bit. Yeah, he was prophesied about. He lit up the hospital as if he was the soul of also Noach and Hevel, maybe something to do with Rabbi Akiva and Mashiach. He was rescued from the Nile. He had a good time. He
had so much light.
the greatest teacher of all time, and his was beat. So how? I know, it's so deep. We'll get there. We also learned that his soul is from Tikkun. He was a killer. He was a fugitive. He was a sorcerer, sword in the stone, and he was a most simple. What do we know first and foremost? Why do you need a staff if you're a? He was a shepherd for 40 years. For 40 years, he was shepherding.
Wow.
That's pretty crazy. Like, we also, it's something we take for granted, but like we have this friend, Rachel in Nachlaot. She's a shepherdess. She said that she shepherded 200 to 300 sheep for like a year, our friend Rachel. Hey Rachel, if you're watching. You know Rachel? She's awesome.
Wow.
She's actually currently a scuba diver in the Jerusalem, what do you call it? What do you read just that? Aquarium. Cool chick.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
So she was saying that it's really crazy shepherding sheep because you'd think that you want to go to the top to have like a vista to see like all your sheep and what they're doing so they'll be able to see you and follow you. She says that doesn't work. When you get higher than the sheep, they dissipate, they disperse. She says the sheep will only work with you when you're amongst them and you're with them. I was like, maybe that's the coolest thing we'll learn all night. Because when you think about Moshe, this humility and the fact that Hashem saw he could be a leader of the Jews because he was such a tremendous shepherd. He was really with the sheep and really caring. So I thought that was pretty cool. What do you guys think?
Really
Beautiful.
Right. And that's all the, by the way, like we know that that's how Moshe, according to the Midrash, was guided to the burning bush. I'm really proud of this burning bush. Because he was following a sheep, right? We know that it was an act of kindness. And one thing that's cool about that teaching is that when you are in service of God in kindness, Hashem will show you your mission.
Wow. Yeah.
Because that's what
Especially
Moshe
if you
was
help
doing.
animals.
Especially if you help animals or cats. Jessica Leah
All
did that.
animals.
Right.
Or a
But-
slave.
or but anyone, essentially that you know, a lot of us are like, what's my mission? What should I be doing in life? How should I be spending my time? How do I create my future? Well, if you're in service of God and in kindness, He'll take you there. You know, it's like these simple ideas which are really beautiful. So in modern day lingo, if Moshe Rabbeinu lived in LA, he would definitely live in Topanga because he was a man of higher consciousness. That's who Moshe was. You know that homie you meet at Trader Joe's or like at the outdoor market, and you kind of like, or that sister, you know, you like see that sister like walking through the shuk and like her like really cool like, I don't know, like robes, and like she has like something on her forehead. Lots of fabrics. Or you see that dude in like the turban who's like standing humbly or like whatever at the hippie festival, and you're like, whoa, who's that bro?
Yeah.
Who's that sister? and you realize that guy would have been Moshe. Like he was like really holding on a higher consciousness, which is cool. And what's sweet about what we learn about that is when you hold in the higher consciousness, Moshe was also God's best friend. Like of all time, Moshe was God's best friend. They even got angry at each other.
Yeah.
Like I said, I said we were talking about anger. The first realization I had of a real best friend was this girl who ended up being my college roommate, and she was like, Niels, like what the heck? Like why wouldn't you do like this? And I was like, oh my God, like we're close enough that you could yell at me. And it was, I'm not saying, like, I'm not suggesting anger, but that's how close, you know,
Yeah,
best
You feel
friends.
safe with the person.
Yeah, and then
Vulnerable.
it's a good thing when you. There's roommates here. Someone said there's a good thing you can. It's a good thing you can.
It's
yell.
healthy.
No, it's a healthy thing. I don't like. What if all the time you never
Yeah, you
ever
bottle-
said anything?
Those are
you
the
were
worst kind of
frustrated?
I was
roommates, where
saying,
you bottle
no,
inside
it's
and then
such
you're
a
like
good thing.
awkwardly walking around the apartment.
Right.
Exactly. And
So bad.
So bad.
What happened to you guys?
We used to be like that.
Doesn't. No.
you grow. And I think Moshe
grow,
and God
yeah.
were growing in their relationship too. You like that? Hook back in.
Hold it all together.
Okay, then Moshe is so cool that an angel of God appears to him in a fire. Did you ever think the first time Moshe and God actually met, Moshe didn't know about God's existence? I mean, he knew, but he didn't really know. He didn't really know. And then, can you imagine all of a sudden an angel comes up out of this fire? Are you guys also like...
An angel or Hashem?
It was Hashem, but it came through an angel in the fire. Imagine a phoenix pops up out of this fire right now.
Yeah. That'd be crazy.
That'd
Hey.
be crazy.
And it's like, Nirvana. You're like, hey, Nady, what's up?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Like, I would imagine a real angel, like you trip your face off. And then the angel looks at Moshe. Imagine I'm standing here, right, and I'm the angel. I'm just gonna sit on you for a second. and it's like, I abandoned Facebook. Just kidding. And I come out of the fire, and I'm like, Jess. And you're like, yes. And I'm like, I'm about to tell you your mission in life. That's how cool Moshe is. Angels pop out of fires to tell him his mission in life.
Very cool.
Is this gonna happen now?
Oh, doesn't that be so cool? I will take Mashiach right now. I will so welcome Mashiach right now.
Amazing.
An angel is amongst us.
Here you go, it's your angel. Okay, cool.
Oh, you're the
So-
angel.
Oh, I'm the angel? All right, I'll play that role tonight. So what? So did Moshe agree?
No.
No.
Hold on a
was
second. If Linda's in there because Mally's in there, I'd rather have noise and Linda.
No.
Like if my choice is no noise and no Linda, or noise and Linda, I'd rather have both. Unless you guys are
I
learning
think Pitsky's ready to wind down.
Pitsky's ready to wind down?
And I think she said she's comfortable
Okay.
with the arrangement.
Okay.
She said she'd rather me be here.
Okay. I you know what I'm saying, if it's just because of noise, look, totally, like I want the noise, you know.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. And I think that she was telling us something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. So 7 days. 7 days. God's like, Moshe, come on. Moshe, this is your job in this world. Come on. No. Now imagine you're camping alone by yourself in the desert, in the wilderness, fighting with an angel out of a fire. Because we always say, oh, the burning bush. An angel appeared to God out of the burning bush. You're like, oh, okay, yeah, an angel.
Story.
It's just a story. It's just a fiery bush. But like, he is by himself. Have you ever camped by yourself for 7 nights? okay, Moshe was used to it being a shepherd, you know, but like, it's really more helpful to put yourself into a desert and imagine 7 days of arguing with an angel in a fire.
Wow.
And he's like, come on, you have to do this, you're the only one. And actually, that's one of the messages we're meant to learn from the burning bush is it's always us that's the only one that can do the mission that's in front of us.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yes.
If it was so bashared and so meant to be that
Can you
Moshe,
speak loud?
if it was so meant to be that Moshe was going to be our person taking us out of Egypt and the chosen person by Hashem himself, it's hard to imagine that there was so much conflict when it was just so meant to be. Like Hashem chose Moshe to be Moshe. How is it that there was this conflict?
Because when we have a problem that we think is an obstacle for us, we see it as a block and not the path. One rabbi that I was listening to said that you have to understand that the obstacle is the path. Meaning, Moshe is saying, but I don't get it. I'm not even doing it to be funny, but also people are going to watch a speech impediment, and I have full respect for your challenge. You know? No, it's very important. I actually listened to a shiur where a guy, I watched a shiur and I read an article with 2 men who had speech impediments presenting on Parshat Shmot so people would understand. Because if your problem, if your difficulty is speech and God's like, go for it. Like, no, I'm not. You have a weakness in this world. I have a weakness in this world. You have a weakness in this world, correct? And Dafka, that's the thing that Hashem's like, You know, my teacher Leah always says that what's your mission in the world? Whatever's hardest for you. Yeah, whatever's hardest for you, and that's what Moshe was fighting against. It's like, no, don't tell me this is where I have to show up, and God's like, this is where you have to show up.
I also think like the reason why it was so meant to be, but there was still this conflict, is because like we have freedom of choice. Like Moshe did have, even though he was picked, like he still have the freedom to just say no or not, like, you know.
And it's very connected also to Purim and Esther, which I'll tell you about later, because it's that story of, listen, Esther, you don't have to do this, but it could be this was the very thing you came in the world to do.
Whoa. No pressure.
Yeah, that's God's world, huh? Okay, another fun fact about Moshe is he had an OG donkey. He had a very special donkey. Do you guys know about Moshe's donkey that he saddled after the burning bush?
I heard about him, but I forgot.
Heard about it? It's a reincarnated donkey. Actually, it never died.
Was it there before the burning bush? or
Where
did
do
it
we
appear?
see the first donkey?
Oh,
Avraham.
yeah, I was gonna say.
It's Avraham's donkey. It's the same donkey. And according to Rabbi Kaplan on Hebrew, it's the same donkey that Mashiach's coming in on. This is an eternal donkey.
Was it supposed? Is Mashiach supposed to come?
Oh yeah,
on a
Mashiach
donkey?
comes in through Tzfat. What up, Tzfat? Mashiach comes in through Tzfat. That's why I moved to Tzfat, actually. I was in
To be
Jerusalem,
where
and I was
it's at.
so excited that Mashiach was coming. I was like, I can't miss this. I'm moving to
I
Tzfat.
want to see it first.
No, I'm totally serious.
Yeah,
During Corona, I was like, okay, I can't be here. If this is what's happening to the world, I'm going to Tzfat. I need to be there to greet the Mashiach on the
I
donkey.
will never look at it.
Oh my God, plug. Facebook world. If anyone wants to sponsor a donkey for one of my future shiurim, this is one of my lifetime dreams. I really, in the future, when the shiurs get big again. No, yeah, I'm just saying, I for my sister, she's a religious school director, and we brought in a ram to Rosh Hashanah to teach about shofar, and my dream is that on Parshat, what's Parshat Bilam? What's Bilam? What's the Parshat Bilam?
Allah, it was there.
Balak? It's Balak, right? Parshat's Balak, right? That my dream. So if anyone is ever like, sure, I have $500 to spend, I want Nili to rent a donkey from the LA petting zoo so she could bring it to a shiur, please. Okay? I'm asking you very bluntly, let's get a donkey. Because you'd never forget that, all the lessons.
Never.
Like maybe like a rescue donkey.
Maybe
An
a rescue
ethically
donkey.
treated
Yeah,
rescue.
ethically treated.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought about that, the animal policy. Okay, if it's ethical. But so anyways, but it's cool to know that Moshe also had an OG donkey. Like that's Abraham's donkey, the Mashiach donkey. Okay, now, so he goes to the burning bush. He finally agrees he's going to take on the leadership, and he's got to go. Let's go. It's time to go. You got to go down, Moses, way down to Egypt land. But what happens? As they start to go, they had just had a baby boy, and they didn't have time to circumcise him because they're afraid if they circumcised him, then the journey was to be too arduous, the baby could get sick, and they waited. And now they're on their way to go to Egypt, Moshe and his wife, and all of a sudden they arrive at this inn, and according to the Midrash, I can't do it, you're going to have to help me. Can you take that? Take that and show it to the Facebook. Ooh, it unwinds really good. Oh, but not yet. Go to the Facebook.
Okay, I'll do it.
Get a little closer to Neely. If
No,
you go
please
there,
don't. I can't.
No, in front of the.
I tried. I really tried this year to.
Oh, wait, no, it didn't.
Oh gosh.
What
So
does it make you feel?
I'm terrified. I got strangled by a snake when I was a kid.
What?
A big 16-foot,
know
yeah,
that?
white
Like
and
an
orange
Indiana
mamba.
Jones level
Yeah.
of snake trauma.
At a, yeah,
This
no.
is not
But
funny
it's also my
anymore.
name. My name is Nili, which
Oh my
is
God.
Netzach Yisrael Lo Shikar. You should never lie. And I used to lie a lot. And now I'm trying really to never ever lie. And I'm like obsessed with honesty. And the
Wow.
snake is the ultimate liar. His tongue goes two ways.
Yeah.
It's a big trauma. It's a big deal. All of our
So
tikkunim,
much right
all of our names are our essence. Let me just tell you.
Wow.
Okay. Anyway, so then they're at this inn and this massive. Say what?
It's a good thing I'm the moon.
Good thing you're the moon. Oh yeah, you have no tikkunim there.
Thank God.
You only have the power of renewal. Oh my God! Yeah, I know. Seriously, that's a big tikkun. And all of Israel, and the diminishment, and the rising. Yeah, big
Psych.
problem. Yeah. Okay, so they're on the way to now go down to Israel. They stop at an inn, and what happens? A massive, massive mamba comes and swallows Moshe all the way to his private part. So Moshe's like, "Oh, there's a snake."
Oh my
This is
God.
crazy.
It's crazy.
So in the shot, it's called an angel of God, but the Midrashim say it was a massive snake that swallowed him to his private part. Also,
Because I guess it was an angel. of
snake,
God.
snake imagery, but the idea is they hadn't circumcised. Tzipporah also got some prophecy, took a flint stone, takes the baby, circumcises it on the spot, takes the flesh of the circumcision, touches it to Moshe's foot, and the mamba releases Moshe with like snake juice all over him.
Wow.
There's a fun story if you didn't know about Moshe. Like if you just met Moshe at a party, you'd be like, yeah man, I got abandoned as a kid, and then one time the snake swallowed me. Okay, so here's another very interesting one. We know that Moshe, by the way, how's our timing? Because I'm just like chilling. I don't know what y'all are.
Good.
Oh, we're chilling. I'm
Oh, I
chilling.
don't know.
Are you-
9, 10, oh, so we've been going for like an hour, so that's great. I could do like 20 minutes. How do you guys feel?
Yeah.
Maybe
Chilling?
30.
30?
40.
30? I got no worries.
I'm not rushing.
All right. Fine. I mean, my favorite thing is to talk Torah, but I don't know if it's everyone's favorite.
I think it's
Hey, we showed up. We're
You should
here.
see me at a party. I'm like, hey, how's it going? Hey, how's it going? And they start talking about stuff. I'm like, so, did you learn anything?
What's your takeaway?
Right. What did you think about? Right. Okay. Fine. So this is very interesting, and unfortunately, I didn't make the time, or it didn't happen that I looked it up. But I learned once from a friend. They should live and be blessed.
Amen.
That there was like some famous artist in the time of Moshe, and he actually painted a portrait of Moshe. And somebody saw this, and they said, and it was like passed down through the generations. Said, "Who is this figure?" And they said, "Oh, this is Moshe Rabbeinu." And they said, "No, that's impossible. This man looks so angry." So actually, the truth is that Moshe's nature, he had a proclivity to extreme anger, and that's why him being humble was the greatest of all time, because his nature was actually that of extreme anger. So I thought that was very fascinating. In other words, he did his work. And that to me is really why Moshe Rabbeinu is our leader, because he did his work. And his places where he had to shine were really freaking hard for him. Especially in Shalom Bayit issues. That's like the main thing. You have to Shalom Bayit or relationship issues even. When you're in a relationship with the other person, you've got to humble yourself in the very place where there's a needs clash. Right? Needs clash? Needs clash. You ever been in a relationship with a needs clash? Exactly what she needs is no?
Never once.
Wow, you are blessed. Anyone else know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Exactly what you need is exactly the opposite of what the other person needs, or vice versa.
Yeah.
Right.
like
So that's where something like that. Yeah, and that's where our work is. Like we were saying, Moshe did his work. That's cool. And also, I learned from Rebbetzin Tzipporah Heller that she was saying another great share. If you guys want, I'll tag you in it later. That Moshe could only redeem because he was humble. Because what is humility? She's saying true redemption is leading people back to themselves. So I don't lead you to you if I'm like, hi, I'm Nili, like, let's learn Torah because it's from Nili. Like, it's not about me. If I'm humble and I'm a leader, I need to help you find your way back to you. And that's why we need leaders to be humble, because it's not about them, it's about us. So I thought
Also,
that.
and I feel like in Moshe's case, sorry if I can chime
No,
in.
please, just, I want you to
It's not
chime in just
about,
loud.
in Moshe's case, it's not that he was so humble before us, it's also that he was so humble before God. And I think that's also what contributes to making such a great leader.
What does that mean to you? Humble before
What
God?
do you mean? If anything, it was the opposite
Like,
of
we
humble.
kind of shout.
If
Have compassion
anything,
for the
if
people online.
anything, it was the opposite of humble before God, arguing with God what his.
Not arguing with God, but I think, and obviously he struggled with it at first, that wow, this is not my mission, but he negated his original will,
Yeah,
and he
did
made
negate his
Hashem's
original
will his will.
That's right. That's a very
And
good point.
I
I
think
never
what it
thought
is
about
to
that.
be a leader is and have a mission. It's accepting that my initial thing that I thought was my mission, that I wanted so badly in life.
That's beautiful.
Maybe that wasn't my mission, and it's listening to your intuition and your soul and what Hashem is telling you. No, actually, this is your mission, and accepting it and humbling what you desire and what you want for a greater cause. And that's what makes the leader.
A girlfriend of mine just broke off her engagement, and she left me that message today. She said, you know, I had this idea of what my mission was, and when I listened to Hashem, and he told me it was a different mission, it looked nothing like what I wanted. I wanted to get married and start my family. But when I heard Hashem, and he said, that's not your mission right now, not with that, in that way, she was literally saying that. She had to
Wow.
the rasa. Right? That's very humble. That's true. I never thought about that. That's amazing. And that's a very hard thing to do. I have two things that I say in my Shema Kolenu, that I ask Hashem to help me mitgaber al atzmi and have shlita atzmi. I should be able to overcome myself, with my will, with what I want. Try to practice that. Okay, so what does God say? What does God say Moshe's job is? What is his job? He gets to the bush. What's his job?
To go to Egypt.
Go to Egypt.
And tell Paro that the people got to go.
See, but what's that job? What is he being appointed to do? Think like bigger. What is Moshe?
The Redeemer. He's Mashiach.
Yeah. Yeah. Your job? Take all of the Jewish people out of suffering, just a few million people. Because now say your job, Tamar. What if I'm like, hey, Tamar, can you please take 3 million people out of their suffering? And by the way, I'm going to need you to bring them to Israel through the desert. Oh, yeah. By the way, it's not just that they're stubborn people. You're going to have to help them learn about God, start to serve God, give up all of their pleasures that they've been enjoying. Oh, and by the way, this people that you're going to have to do all this with, they're going to have to be a moral light for every nation in the world for the rest of time. It's a big deal. I wrote it just in all these different words because I was like, whoa, the mission was about rescuing millions of people from bondage, and it was really about redeeming the whole world and nothing less. It's really wild. Now, if you don't know, there's like a main analogy for Moshe and in our lives. Do you guys know about like the Moshe consciousness, land of Israel, physicality? Okay, so the Moshe story is absolutely true. There's Moshe, but Chabad Chassidut, from Kabbalistic literature, says that actually Moshe is consciousness. So everybody, first of all, when Moshe died, his soul did go into every one of us. Every one of us has a spark of Moshe. So that's something to know. I learned that from my teacher Leah. But also that Moshe is your consciousness. And your consciousness as represented by your soul or your spirituality. Now, that in the soul form is great, but what's our role here on earth? What's our whole avoda? To take our spirituality, our soul, our consciousness, and what?
Actualize it? Elevate it?
Embody it, integrate it. We have to integrate the spiritual and the physical. So Eretz Yisrael is the body, and Moshe and the Jewish people are the soul. And the whole metaphor, says Chabad Chassidut, of Moshe and the people is your consciousness, your soul being embodied. The land of Israel is like our body. And that's this whole analogy through everything we're learning about Moshe is he is consciousness. He is spirit. And the whole thing is you have to not just have that spirit, you have to redeem it from its lowliness, immerse it in Torah and purity, and then put that and then bring that into your body. That's integration. That's yoga, essentially.
Yeah.
That's what yoga is doing the work of Moshe and the Jewish people say what?
So it always ends up back to the Torah.
Say what?
Saying yoga, meditation,
Oh, yeah,
all
of course.
these practices.
Of course.
It's just
Of course. Oh, we'll do a class on yoga and the history of Jewish stuff with it. Wow, it's crazy. But that's the whole idea, that Moshe, he was a real man, but he's an archetype for how we redeem ourselves, how we integrate our spirituality and our physicality. What's something that's obvious that we haven't mentioned about Moshe yet? What was his role at Har Sinai once they finally got to... Oh, by the way, the burning bush happens at Har Sinai. If we don't remember that fact, that's an interesting one to remember. Yeah, so it's a small one, but what then happens at Har Sinai? What role does Moshe start to play then? Because we didn't include this yet. It's so obvious, but you forget. He's the master teacher.
Right.
Our friend Shalom always calls people master. He calls me Master Nili, right? He was literally master. I mean, he is, what's the Karate Kid? guy?
Mr.
Daniel's
Miyagi.
son, and what?
Mr.
He's
Miyagi.
Mr. Miyagi meets Yoda, meets Amma, that hugging woman. He is the master teacher. He is, I mean, imagine, you have those master teachers in India with all those people around them. Moshe was really, I mean, that's why we call him Moshe Rabbeinu.
Yeah.
It's not just a cute term. We call him,
Right.
he was the man. He was, imagine you're like best Torah teacher ever, times a billion. Did you guys ever have a really good Torah teacher? Or like someone inspired? That was cute.
I didn't say anything.
But times a billion. Yes,
I went to
saw that.
yeshiva. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and it's funny because actually it's called Torah Moshe. I mean, that's not small. Okay, so guys, look at how much we just learned about Moshe.
Wow.
It's a lot, right?
And there's probably so much more.
There's so much more.
Just my legs are a little
Your
warm.
legs are on fire. Yeah, we have a
I feel
real
like I'm
Jewish
a little
show,
coaster,
guys. We have a
actually.
real. Oh, amazing! If anyone wants to trade with me, or okay, so woo! My plan is to talk a little bit about the burning bush story. Is that cool? And again, for me, the last few weeks, I've gone out of like hyper. I want to blow your mind with the Torahs, and more into like I just kind of want to talk about one topic.
I love that.
Because I just want to think about it all week. And I want to, this is such a big part of our lives. As we were saying, Egypt is, we're supposed to think about it. Moshe is our consciousness. Like, that's our soul. Like, it's a lot. Okay, cool. So, cool stuff from the burning bush. Really cool stuff. Actually, really so cool that wow, mind-blowing. Okay. All right, let's see. Just so you know, in case it's interesting for you, it was the year 2447 from creation. Like we said, by then the Jews had been in exile for 115 years, in slavery for 86, which I thought was cool because isn't that Gematria Elohim? I don't know what that means. Isn't 86 Gematria Elohim? It is, right? The Jewish people were, there's fire everywhere. It's very appropriate. Okay, so we know he fought for 7 days. We know he had to take his shoes off, which is one
Fought for 7 days.
at the burning bush, not to take the leap. We have all these 5 different questions that he asked that we won't get into, but he arrives and God's like, yo, homie, take off your shoes. Actually, a friend of mine wrote a song once. You know what a bomboclat is in like Jamaican culture? Bomboclat. It's not a good thing. You don't want to be a bomb. You never heard them say bomboclat. No?
Usually.
Oh, I love reggae.
What does it mean?
Oh, it's like, it's like how a feminist would say the patriarchy. Like it's like the worst. Yeah, yeah. Bomboclat. It's like the opposite of Rastafari. Well, which don't say because Ras actually means prince, Tefari means of God. They're actually calling their prince of God, but Jews Tefari, right? They're calling Haile Selassie Hashem, which is not. Anyhow, so the point is, I had a friend. He wrote a reggae song. Take off your bomboclat shoes, all the way and heavy on your feet, and you got to keep marching swiftly on home to Zion. Really cool reggae song, but the idea is that our shoes, they can like protect us from being vulnerable. And you're not a Jew Stafari, because a Jew Stafari meets you with their heart, right? They meet you in the place of realness and vulnerability. God says to Moshe, take off your shoes, bro. Stop trying to protect yourself. Put your walls down. Because what are your shoes? They're the things that protect you. What do we do when we get into an interaction that's uncomfortable? We put up our protection. Now, they didn't, he's not going to go into the psychological explanation in the year 2047, but now that psychology has like expanded, our grandparents didn't have these thoughts. Even our grandparents studying Torah might not have been having these thoughts because the world of consciousness has opened in our generation. So here we're allowed to see, no, Hashem's like, Moshe, you're going to have to be vulnerable to pull this off. Take off your shoes. This is holy ground, right? So we have all the different signs, which I wanted to get into. We have the leprosy, right? He pulls his hand out. It's white. There's a lot about speech in there because leprosy comes from Lashon Hara, and he was actually saying the Jews won't believe me, so that was a form of Lashon Hara. He has this is my favorite. I wanted to do the whole shiur on this, but it didn't work out. God, okay, let's see if I could even do this. This is going to take a lot of bravery.
You can do it.
So God's like, you see that staff in your hand? And he's like, yeah. He's like, throw it to the ground. So Moshe throws it to the ground, and then he's like, it turns into a snake, and I don't know if I could do it.
You can do it.
I'll pick it up with a hat.
Do you want me to pick it up?
No, because I want to
she has
try.
to
But this is
overcome
the
it.
whole thing, is Moshe had to pick up a freaking snake from its tail. I don't care if you're a snake lover in the desert. That's really scary.
That's your teeth. That's what you have to do.
I know.
Embrace
Tell
it.
me about
Embrace
it.
it. Instead of it grabbing you, you grab
Oh, this
it.
is horrible.
You
I
got
hate
this.
this.
You do it.
So
So
he's, no, you should see the chills all over my. It's just I hate this.
It's fake.
I
Put
hate
it down.
this.
You did it. Woo.
No, but the idea is that when you
love
have
this.
to,
You love this.
when you, I love this.
so
I really
proud.
hate this. This is really hard for me.
It's the thing you most
I'm
fear.
very uncomfortable.
Oh, look,
yeah,
you're doing it.
I know. Thank you. But the point
Wow.
is that when we have a mission to do, we have to grab it. But that thing that we're afraid of, that's the only way through.
Yeah.
You what?
It's true.
No, but it's true.
I hear you.
It's speaking to her.
Woo!
And just,
Yeah.
yeah.
Feeling, that was a long
while you're
time.
speaking, I'm like feeling your feels of
Yeah,
being the
that's
snake
the only way
and
through.
just-
Whatever you're afraid of, you got it. God is like, you're gonna leave this people. You're gonna be the greatest man of all time. Great. Let's start first. Get vulnerable, and now grab your fears by the you know whats.
Tails.
By the tail.
Sometimes
their
I say
snake
things that are
tails.
gonna be
Those are my favorite things.
Yeah, good thing you're not being recorded or anything.
And by the way, by the way, Moshe's 80.
Wow.
Moshe's 80. He's 80 years old at the burning bush. That's a,
But what is
isn't
that,
that?
like 30
I love all
in
these
these
new
years?
like. Oh, right,
Yeah.
yes.
I think it was like 28.
I love it.
Well, if he
That's in
dies,
sheep
if he,
years.
I know it feels like it.
I
Also,
think
all the
he's
people that
under
make him
80.
look like a young, handsome guy.
Yeah.
So think he dies at 120. He, if you go work backwards, he had to take the Jews to the desert for 40 years. So that what's 120 minus 40?
Yeah, 80.
80. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay.
So he's like,
By the way,
he's
the
like
reason
60.
Moshe is one of the interpretations why he dies at 120 is because he had 3 different trips up to Har Sinai at 40 days, totaling 120 days, so a day per year, because
Wow.
his mission defined his life. So it's
Yeah.
those 120 days on Har Sinai. Okay, fine. All right. The burning bush. God basically says to him, "Listen, I see your pain." So basically, what's the idea? The burning bush is all of our suffering, right? It's this fire of our lives. But the thing is, the message is, I promise you, I see your suffering. It's not going to consume you. I know it feels like it's going to consume you. I know the suffering is burning and burning. And somehow, Buddhist wisdom, it's all about the suffering. Our whole lives, there is suffering. It's unavoidable. It's part of the plan. And God is saying, what's the message of the burning bush? Here's your mission. You have to know. You got to get vulnerable. You got to deal with your fears. It's not going to consume you, Moshe. I see your suffering. It's not going to consume you. And that is the story of the Jewish people, wrapped up in a freaking bush. It's not going to consume you. It's not going. You are the eternal people. Even if many of you are wiped out, as a collective, you're never going to be wiped out. And as human,
Yeah,
for your
that's what
own
it says.
suffering, I'm with you. I'm with you now. I'll be with you in
Wow.
the future. I'm with you. Which is really beautiful. Now, this was really cool. I learned this from the book Nes HaTorah from Rav Yoram Dahan. And he actually says that the name, okay, so God introduces himself at the burning bush, and Moshe says, who even are you? Who am I going to tell them? Who the freak sent? Who is this? What? Yeah, again, try to remove all of our years of Jewish information in our head, right?
So hard
So
to think about, 'cause
impossible.
to me, Moshe is like a great person that when he saw Hashem, he was like, oh, hey, what's up? I know you. You know me.
Never met.
Yo.
You know?
Never
But look
met.
at Moshe, he's so big.
He's so big, they never even met. And so God says, my name is, and I'll say the correct one just for the sake of learning, Eheyeh Asher Eheyeh. Now what's interesting about this, says Rav Yoram Dahan, according to the Kabbalah, is that Eheyeh Asher Eheyeh is Gematria 543, and actually Moshe is Gematria 345, which is really interesting because Hashem and Moshe are also the inverse. I'll say it again because I'm sure Facebook can't see. Eheyeh Asher Eheyeh is 543. Moshe is 345. If you spell out Hashem and spell out Moshe, they're inverse. So if Yoram Dahan says, oh, actually, I apologize. This is from Rav Chugman. Or no, they both. Rav Chugman says the following. He says that what's happening, what we're learning from Moshe and us in our consciousness, because again, this isn't about Moshe, it's about us, is that we're really in a mirroring relationship with God. We're supposed to be listening to the conversation in our suffering.
Maybe we're all that great.
That's exactly the point. My teacher Leah all the time says no one has exclusive. Moshe didn't have exclusive rights to be Moshe. Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, Leah, they didn't have exclusive rights to be amazing. We're all. That's exactly it with every biblical character. That's how we're supposed to think of this
And
whole
maybe
life.
we can't get as close to Hashem as we're supposed to because we have that blockage.
100%. And by the way, to be the most humble, you have to know your greatness. If you're still like, no, I'm not that great, you're not humble. You're just
insecure.
covered. Yeah. Yeah, you have to know you're awesome. Have to. What can you be humble about? If I'm like, oh, my shears are good, thank you. You guys would be like, well, that's annoying. Your shears are great. But only if I say, wow, my shears are really great, then I could be humble about it. So yeah, we have to know we're great, for sure. So beautiful line here is that Rav Chugman says that God was trying to bring out and reveal to Moshe's, Mom, this is for you, inner potential. That's what God was trying to show Moshe. And Moshe was like, all right, this is a mirror relationship. I'm going to draw all the info out of you that I can. I'm going to find out everything I can, even what? Hashem's essential name. Moshe wanted Hashem's essence. You guys see the reverse there? Hashem's trying to pull out the inner potential of Moshe, and Moshe is trying to pull out the inner essence of Hashem. That's why he's asking him his name, right? What do we say in the beginning?
They're best
that
friends.
Shmot, the essence of Shmot, your name, your neshama is Shem. They're best friends.
Would you say that Hashem and Moshe had like the most special connection from all of the great people that
100%.
we learn about?
Best friends. Yeah, all the commentaries. I'm not making that up. That's not modern language. Like everybody says, God and Moshe are best friends. Moshe is God's best friend.
Thinking about Avraham, Yitzchak,
Nope,
Yaakov.
Moshe, best friend.
Well, Moshe's the one he gave his diary to.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, Moshe.
trusted his
Yeah,
laws
he
with
gave
him.
his diary to Moshe. I said, here, and you give this over for me. I trust you. You speak for me. Phew.
Wow.
Yeah.
Twice.
Even something as silly as like I know at a certain point I'm gonna have to stop giving shiurim for a little bit, and I was like, oh well, I want to ask someone to like step in my place. Like I have to like really think like who would I really want like the community to like gather around? Like who would it be? And that's just like a little cheer in LA. And God is like, yeah, here's my diary, Mo. Treat it with respect.
Neely,
And then-
it's only you.
It's only you. It's only all of us. Actually, that was actually my last card. So finally, actually, God becomes angry at Moshe at the burning bush. Don't shirk your responsibility, Moshe. Stop it. That's to all of us. You know what I'm saying? And what did it say at the bottom here? You're destined for greatness. Don't shirk your responsibility. If you're living a bland life right now, you're not doing what God is asking. God's saying, stop shirking your responsibilities. You're destined to be great. If your life is bland, dear Facebook watchers, get some fire into your Hilchis, right? That's also not stopping. Why a burning bush? Hashem's like, yalla, yalla, yalla. You know? Yeah. Okay. And finally, there's one before we like kind of conclude, just talking about a little bit about the burning bush. The one reason that they say, one commentator, I think it was Rashi and Targum Onkelos, were saying, I could be wrong, that no, the reason Moshe didn't concede for 7 days is because he couldn't stand the thought of being the leader in place of his brother. And only when God said, no, don't worry, Aaron's coming towards you, and he's rejoicing in his heart, then Moshe said, oh, okay, cool. So it was really a person who thought about his brother, which is really the essence of a leader. They say before when I used to listen to Christian rock music in an instant way, one of the pastors was saying that true leaders are made because they serve. When you look at a real leader, they're always in service. Someone who's trying to be a leader, it's about them. But Moshe was in service all the time. He wanted to do what was right, the right thing. And he wanted his brother to lead, and if not, it wasn't going to be good. All right, now this part, guys, is what blew my mind. How's focus? We have 10 minutes?
Yeah,
Okay.
please.
Okay.
I am listening. I wasn't just taking out my phone because
You do you, boo. You do you, boo. Actually, I found sometimes in a share when I'm on WhatsApp, it helps me focus. Because
I was doing some gematria calculation.
You were doing gematria. How you doing, broski?
Doing great.
Fabulous.
Keep on keeping on.
Okay, Funky Town. Now this tripped me out, Momish. I don't know why I thought to look up the day in history of the burning bush. Do you guys know what else happens on this day in history? So it was the 15th of Nisan. So let's just go through from the beginning, because wait for it. What was the first 15th of Nisan? Do you guys remember the Brit Ben Abetarim, the covenant of the parts with Avraham Avinu? It's this really weird Brit back in, what Parshat is it in? I don't remember. Someone wants to look it up and let me know. It's this crazy, one of the first Brits that's ever made, and it's the Brit where Hashem promises that his children will be enslaved, but they'll come out and be this great people. That happened on the day that God calls Moshe to the burning bush.
Wow.
That's crazy. Yeah? Oh. Yeah. Oh, I have it all right here. I'm so sorry. I don't know why I didn't read it. He says that he has a special covenant with Avraham in which the destiny of the Jewish people was foretold. The Holy Land was bequeathed to them as their eternal heritage, but first they would have to experience galut, exile, and persecution, and afterwards they would come out great. Well, That happens on the 15th of Nisan, same day as the burning bush. What's the second thing that happens? Check this out. When was Avraham visited by the angels? You know the three angels that came to visit Avraham on the third day? Let you guess. The 15th of Nisan. Avraham also, Hashem sent him angels. And that was also I didn't go into each one, but you could think, why is this all happening? Third one, ready? Isaac is born.
Wow.
Frickin' Yitzchak is born on the 15th of Nisan.
The leader of the Messianic age.
Exactly. The leader of the Messianic age. What's next? This one blew my mind. Guys, this one blew my mind. When Yaakov wrestles with the angel. When Yaakov wrestles with the angel, it was the 15th of frickin' Nisan.
Wow.
According to
Oh no, this is like you could just find all the dates in the Bible. You can find a way to figure it out through the Bible. This isn't like far-fetched. And this is all from Chabad.org if anyone wants a source. It's super cool. Wait, it gets even cooler. Yeah, and Jacob was left alone, and a man wrestled with him to the break of dawn. That was 1556 BCE on the 15th of Nisan. It gets more. There's more. The fifth one is Moshe and the burning bush. Happens on the 15th of Nisan. It gets crazier. What else happens on the? What's the famous 15th of Nisan? Yeah, Pesach. It was the next year.
Is that when Mashiach's gonna come?
I was. That's the thought I had tonight. I was like, I bet it's gonna be. I don't want to wait that long. I prefer tonight. But I mean, there's definitely deot that. I mean, there's always a day that Mashiach's gonna come.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it makes.
But
it
as
would
we
make
approach Pesach,
the precedent of Exodus is then, so it could definitely be the 15th. I was thinking about if anyone's born, I would have cool birthday. But yeah, so a year later, you know, the plagues, which will maybe we'll learn about in the next 2 weeks, they took almost a year. So it was the burning bush. Moshe goes back, tries to convince Pharaoh, plagues begin, and it's only a year later that they actually get out. But there's more. This is crazy. There's a lot of connections in this Parsha and Purim, but I couldn't bring it tonight. Queen Vashti is executed, which makes way for Esther, which is the Redeemer, right?
So on the 15th of Nisan?
Also on the 15th of Nisan. Here's this one. Daniel in the lion's den. Daniel in the lion's den.
Yeah.
Like, what? I didn't even have time to think about each one, but we could do a whole shiur on each one of these examples and why it connects to the burning bush. There's more. Oh, not really. Okay, the truth is those are like the major dates, but then we do certain things because it's the 15th of Nisan, like we start the counting of the Omer. And here's an amazing one. So what is Pesach in terms of the counting of the Omer? What is the 15th of Nisan? What night is it? In the Sefirot. What's the first night?
Second night of Pesach.
According to the Sefirot, yes, it is the second night of Pesach. No, it's the first. What is the first Sefirah we count in terms of Sefirot? Chesed shebe chesed. So all of this is chesed shebe chesed. The energy of all of those events, of Daniel in the lion's den, of Queen Vashti being executed, of Moshe in the burning bush, of the Exodus, of Jacob wrestling with the angel, of Isaac being born, of the angels visiting Avraham, and the Brit B'nai Betarim, the essence of all of those days is chesed shebe chesed. That means the essence of Moshe and the burning bush and this whole trip of God was like, I'm just going to love you. Now I'm going to read you guys one final letter and we'll finish. This was so beautiful. I couldn't believe it. But first of all, isn't that trippy? Like, I flipped my brain. Oh, and listen to this. This is so gorgeous. Okay, look, we have like 3 more pages. I'm so interested in this that like I don't want to stop, but I really would like to be socially competent.
Yeah.
Socially competent, you know? You know, and that person's still talking and you're like, really just want to walk away. But then check this out. So then if you look in Chabad, they have daily study and a daily thought of Chitat, right? So it's the daily thought the Rebbe writes in a letter. From the time I was a school child and even before, a vision of the future Exodus began to form in my mind. Wow. Such an Exodus that all the suffering of exile, which is the burning, the fire of the bush, all the suffering of exile, the persecutions and mass destruction will finally be understood. And understood in the fullest sense, with a complete heart, to the point that we will look back and say thank you to God for all that we went through. We will know that it's chesed shebe chesed. So it's one of the biggest days on the calendar, and I want to ask you guys what each of us will learn from this, and if you're willing to say it, I would be really grateful online. But before that, I want to read you this article that I found. It's just this page, and it's really beautiful. Because it's talking about the idea that Moshe is this master teacher, right? Right? Moshe is the master teacher? Yeah? Okay, stay with me 2 more minutes. I didn't have insecurity the first whole hour and 20 minutes, and now it creeps in.
No, you shouldn't. We're like fully
It's
in.
okay. No, it's my own.
Yeah.
character. I just like to acknowledge it.
I hear
'cause
that,
I'm like,
yeah.
oh, look, there it is. Okay. So he was talking about, so you think that God tells Moshe, should we put another log in? By the way, are you guys cool? Like, I'm hot, but if you guys are cold.
Can I was hoping you'd get like a draft.
You're
What?
cold?
I was a little bit
cold?
chilly.
Oh,
No, I'm okay. I'm by the fire, so I'm okay. But I was just
You want me
like,
cold?
Oh, I'm
I'm
schmoiling,
okay.
but I'm
I-
also wearing a lot of clothes.
I know.
Okay, so it was saying, no, just I'm happy if you're happy, Jewish like that.
Mhm.
All right, so okay, so you think that so now let's just go back to the burning bush for a second. Don't you think that these people in slavery who basically lost all their customs, were basically pagan, were like, the sexual immorality was insane, 86 years of slaves, were really barely holding onto a thread, we don't know God anymore. You'd think that Moshe would have to go in there with like fire and brimstone and be like, people, get your freaking act in order. Like, what is God telling Moshe? How you have to? You even think like, what's Moshe supposed to do? God's like, go to Egypt, and Moshe's like, what do you want me to say? Did you ever think about that? He didn't know. We know. So listen, this letter's so beautiful. He says that they're failing, right? So they might need a sermon of fire and brimstone. And that's maybe what an educator might have said, but not the educator of educators, not the master teacher. Listen to how beautiful this is. And who wrote this? Gosh. Oh, gosh. I didn't bring the beginning of the article. It's called A Teacher's Manual, What the Rebbe Taught Me, if you want to look it up. She says like this. But the educator of educators, God says to Moses like this. Go assemble, remember chesed shebechesed. Go assemble the elders of Israel and say to them, God, the God of your forefathers, Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, tell them lovingly that I exist. And now think about this for you, right? We're supposed to be getting the message of Moshe. Now, we all have to turn our lives around, examine our consciousness, elevate ourselves from the depths of Egyptian muck and our Yetzer Hara to embody and integrate our souls. He says, tell them lovingly, so I tell you lovingly, about your rich, long-forgotten past, about your extraordinary ancestors and the excellent stock they came from, about who you really are beneath the dirt, beneath the slavery, beneath the phone addiction, and about who they can become. Tell them that God appeared to me and said, I remember you. I see what's being done to you in Egypt. I see your suffering. Right? It's like God saying this to you now. I see your suffering. I do. I'm with you. Communicate to them with affection that I deeply care and I think about them. And my love for them is unconditional. And that it's led me to remember you and empathize and finally tell them I've declared I will bring you up from this suffering to a land flowing with milk and honey. I'm going to bring you home. It's going to be okay. And he says to Moshe, your final words to this battered people should sparkle with enthusiasm and passion as you describe their bright future. This is how a teacher, the master teacher, would talk to his challenged students on the brink of despair. These are the type of soothing and encouraging words that we needed to hear to get back up. And this was what God was empowering Moshe to tell us at the burning bush, which is, again, so different from the usual message I would expect to hear. So, welcome to the book of redemption, my friends. Welcome to the tale of the burning bush. And I think, we did a little bit of a review in the beginning. I think we can just straight go into, now that we've really looked at Moshe, well, I'll bless us first. Now that we've looked at...
Sorry, can I ask a question on what you were just talking about?
Yeah.
How was Hashem's response to Moshe an indication to go back and tell them, like, with the chesed?
So this interpretation from this article was explaining, now that Moshe agrees to go, he has to know what to say. We don't see it is one of the biggest dialogues between a human and God in the whole Bible, but we don't hear the whole dialogue. The Chazal is assuming that there's a lot more. And what of that is the message? So now what, God? What do I tell them? Okay, tell them Ekayesh that sent you. That very name indicates that I feel their suffering, and that's a very empathetic name. It comes from like the highest realm of the Sphira. It's like a beyond name. What's beyond? Compassion. I see you, you're effing up, you're serving pagan gods, and like, okay, I'm still here for you. I see your suffering. I see your plight. So it's a very empathetic approach. So this guy who wrote this article was suggesting that actually the message God was telling Moshe to tell the people was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, I'm taking you, I promise you, I'm with you, I love you, you're so special. It wasn't like, you lowly Jews, I'm taking you out of Egypt and we're going because you can't do this anymore and you need the Torah to become better. Like yeshiva, we were saying. Like, it wasn't like that. It was very loving. And I just thought that's, if we're trying to redeem ourselves, that's the only approach is chesed shebechesed.
I have a random question.
Yeah.
You speak about compassion that Hashem had towards...
How did he put them in it in the first place?
No.
Oh, sorry.
The compassion that Hashem had for the Jewish people serving other gods, right? In Mitzrayim, is what you were just saying, right? But then when the Chet Egel came about, Hashem, there was death, there was...
So what happened then?
Right.
I
What was
don't
the
know.
compassion then?
Let's keep learning. No, I mean, the whole thing is compassion.
Yeah.
Our whole existence is compassion.
Yeah.
They say that actually when something happens to you don't like, you should jump for joy because you deserve so much worse. Which sounds bad, but it's actually really humbling. Like, oh, you're stuck in traffic? Yeah, you didn't deserve traffic. Actually, you just gossiped about your best friend. You deserve a car crash cost for shalom. But God's just going to give you traffic. Right. Because we just are, he just treats us, we're so spoiled. We're so spoiled. He treats us so much better than we deserve. We don't say thank you. We're jerks.
Not everybody,
We treat each other rude. Not everybody. Me, I do all these things.
No, not people do that. I mean, like, some people do have that life where it is not
Maybe it would have
wonderful or
been even
beautiful
worse.
It's
Yeah,
pretty
but
bad.
Yeah.
But check this out. I mean, this thing I was thinking of earlier. We give birth humans one kid at a time. If we were like dogs or like cats, we'd have like a few kids and maybe a bunch of them.
Oh, you're saying that's compassionate?
Wouldn't survive. And we just have to live with that, But no, actually, guys, I can do one at a time.
But that is it. It is one suffering at a time.
Nice.
I like that.
all right.
There you go.
For sure. With the irony then is what was going on with these women in Egypt who had 6 at a time. But
Yeah.
okay, so my blessing, because Rabbi Nachman says, always turn your Torah into a blessing. My Nachman, I don't know where that came from.
Nana.
Yeah.
Nah.
All right, Rabbi Nachman, what's up?
Very good.
My blessing to, because Rabbi Nachman says you have to turn your Torah into a tefillah. That's where it came from. My blessing is that we should feel that Hashem sees our pain. My blessing is that, like Moshe and Hashem, we're in a mirror relationship. We should continue to make God our best friend. Like Moshe, we should get the message from God not to shirk our responsibility, that we're destined for greatness. That we should know wherever our greatest weakness is, like Moshe, who wasn't a man of words, that our whole life career, God is building us, helping us, if we choose to, turn that weakness into our greatest strength, whatever your greatest challenge is. That Hashem should bless us to feel the magnitude of every day of the calendar year. It's not just this one. And to deeply know that it's coming from chesed shebechesed. And amen. And that we should just keep learning about Moshe, keep exploring all the biblical characters and really what it has to reflect on our life. And if you guys are okay with it, would you be okay if I pass the phone? Would you be willing to share stuff online, or is that like too difficult?
Like pass it with our faces in the
Yeah, would you pass your face in the phone? I mean, I only do it every week.
That's why you're there and we're here.
No, stop, I'm joking. Or I could like hold it from here and turn it. Would you be game with that?
Yeah.
Or we could just turn it off. I think it's so
No,
beautiful when
I
people
have to
share.
say.
Okay, great.
I want the
Just
people to
share
hear me.
about what you
Learned. Like when I used
Yeah.
to teach in the seminary system, I never ever ended a class without asking every girl what she's taking away from it. Because that's really what's precious to me. Like what I get from the shiur, I prepare the shiur, but I want something back. What do I want back? I want to know what it meant to you. So we'll just pass it, or you can hold it far.
Oh, so you're gonna, okay.
Or you could stand in the burning bush. Okay,
Yeah.
so people who are here, we're a very small crew. We just got together like an hour before the shiur and to learn because we couldn't do a big event. And so we're just some people are gonna share if they want. Come on up to the burning bush.
Okay,
You can
thank
introduce
you.
yourself. Thank you.
Hello, everyone.
Thank you, Facebook World, for watching so far. We're really grateful that you're here and learning Torah with us, and for the merit of Shoshana B'Hamachaya.
Amen. Hello, everyone. So something that I learned at this lovely shiur was that the things that we struggle with the most are like essential to like what we will become like great for. And so something that I've been struggling with is like internalizing and accepting the things that I struggle with and not feeling like they're so hard I give up. And so that was really something I need to hear right now, because like those things I need to tap into in order to unleash like my greatness, And like, for example, like one of my huge struggles is ADHD, but also there's but there's a lot of like kind of like what you were saying, how like when someone someone has so much of something in them that then that is like their deficit. Like there's something in me that is so much that like the deficit that is ADHD is also the strength and the light.
It's tohu, from the world of tohu. We have more light than vessel.
Yes.
Our job in this world then is to expand those vessels to contain all that light that is a God-given gift. Exactly. Beautiful.
Exactly. So that's how I feel,
Beautiful.
and that's what
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone want? Anyone want? Pass the phone to the left-hand side. Will you share?
Yes.
Okay. Tell them who they are. Tell them who you are.
Hi, I'm Jessica Leah. I really liked learning more angles about Moshe, and the idea that he was like processing for like a week.
Yeah.
At the burning bush to
In
like
the desert.
get
camping.
open, to like really like see the parts of himself that were resisting,
Let's
moving
go on a Moshe
forward.
camping trip.
And
job.
no, it wasn't an interruption. And I just really like that idea of him like standing and process. I never thought of him like standing there for a week having this like
Yeah, a full 7
experience.
days.
Yeah.
Pass the phone to the left. Tell them who you are.
Hello, everyone. My name is Daniel. I would say, thank you so much. I think something I really enjoyed was how it was just really difficult for Moshe. It was all actually just really hard, and it was a real struggle, and he did the work, and that was like pretty nice. It wasn't easy.
Across many lifetimes.
Yeah, across my lifetime.
Right, and that's what I love. That's, I'll say, my takeaway is just that Moshe did the work, yo. Moshe did the work. That's the people I admire. You don't have to. Nobody has to. Tell them who you are, Balabite.
Must I?
No, you don't have to. You can just say hi and bye.
Hi.
Does anyone else want to share? I'll close it off.
Whoever's there, I guess I'll share. I'm not sure if it's connected to what you were saying tonight, but I know we were talking about Moshe, and that much I got. And the 1,000,001 things about the super consciousness, superhuman, or the human crazy consciousness that, gave us, like, propelled thousands of years of history and, our belief system and, everything. So, l'chaim to Moshe. Well, l'chaim to Ma'alya, too.
Hello, Facebook Live. I'm Rivka. I think a main takeaway for me was the idea of like the burning bush and it not being consumed by the fire, and that kind of like what Mirav was talking about, that our struggles can become our saviors, but it's only like once we acknowledge that like we can stand in the fire and not be consumed, and when we're going through all of these difficult things, that's where Hashem is. And also, if I can just add upon what Nili was teaching, I was learning the Nili Salem. He brings down, I think from the Zohar, although I'm not sure, so don't quote me on that, about this question, like in the beginning, your whole thing was about shame and the names, and so it's like this crazy question that we have in the Torah that we're asking, what is Hashem's name? That's what Moshe's like central question is. And Hashem responds, Ehyeh. And like the Nili Salem teaches that they were all confused. Like his question was like, they're not going to believe me. Moshe's question is, they're not going to believe me, that they're ready for this redemption. I feel like I should talk to you guys also, but that they're not going to believe me because it's not time, because he had received this like, what's it called, when you have a Ruach HaKodesh, that they would be taken out after 260 years, which is Yud Kei Vav Kei. And so what he was telling them was that he's telling them, no, actually you're going to be taken out after Ehyeh, which is 210 years, and that's how long Bnei Israel was in Egypt for. And he also says that why is Ehyeh, why is it connected with chesed and with love, is it's connected with tshuva. And it's connected with the idea of that tshuva is related to the future. It's acknowledging that we have this past and we've done these bad things, or we've been, not had confidence in ourselves because of our actions. But what Hashem responds is that tell them that I have faith in your future. So,
I'm asking to take over the person.
anyways, that's what I took away, and that's what I have to add. And
Hayeh being the name that's like above the spirit, I think it's associated with Keter. It's beyond. That's exactly what you're saying. Is that
beyond.
Yeah.
Lifts you up.
Yeah.
And that's what we have to do when we're in those fiery places that we feel like are consuming us, is to trust that we have a brighter future. And here is the Holy Tamar.
Oh my, I can't take this now. Well, no, I can't. No, I had a thought, but that was beautiful. I was just very mesmerized by the idea of Moshe being a prince in two different worlds, and his ability to be privileged in both worlds and see the beauty of both worlds, and the idea that he could have, the only way he could literally free the Jews from Mitzrayim was the fact that he understood both worlds and had compassion for both worlds, so that he was able to actually make a difference. And in the world that we're in today, that's so polarized and the sides are so divided, I just felt like everywhere within the Jewish community, within everywhere, it's layers and layers of like we hate each other for nothing, for like these lines, and so to kind of like connect those hands.
Together the two COVID sides. They would be the
yeah, and politics and everything. It's so black and white. And so I just thought that Moshe's ability to like toe those lines was his like.
Do you see why guys want to speak
Shemaim.
after class? Because like I just have the beginning ideas, but then they like multiply out, and it's so amazing. And so if anyone on Facebook wants to share your ideas too in the comments, we'll be so grateful. And thank you to Linda, Miriam, and Avictor for hosting our Torah learning, and may it be a blessing for all of us. Mashiach night. I'll show you the burning bush. Peace in, homies. Ooh, burning bush.